We're joined by Cowen analyst Roman Schweitzer, who points out in a note this morning to, quote, expect Congress to appropriate emergency DOD spending quickly. Roman, it's great to have you on the show. You and I have had a number of conversations and you're not the only person. Everybody I've spoken to within the defense and national security industry is saying this, that defense spending's going up, both domestically and internationally among our allies, just given everything we're seeing playing out with Russia and Ukraine. What could that trajectory look like?
Good morning, Morgan. It's great to join you. And look, I really think we are in uncharted territory. I mean, I know there's a lot of metaphors and historical examples to use, but I'll just use the most recent one in terms of trajectory. If you look at what defense spending did after 9/11, it went straight up for about 14 years. Now, I'm not suggesting something like that, and I'm not suggesting this is a complete analog, but we really do have a shift in the geopolitical environment that is still unsettled, that I think even some of the best cases that aren't just even contemplated still leave open the door for follow-on negative effects. And I think the West, to coin an old phrase, does need to show unity and resolve, and that's going to include more spending both by the United States, also in NATO and other non-aligned EU countries, and perhaps even in Asia to prevent further spillover there.
So how quickly could we see an increase in those defense dollars manifest? I ask that because, at least as of earlier this morning, based on my own reporting, the DOD had not reached out to Congress looking for supplemental for Eurocom funding. But there does seem to be this growing sense that Congress may provide it anyway. Is that your sense as well? And if so, how quickly would that happen?
Well, I do think it's going to depend on the U.S. response in terms of transferring manpower and perhaps equipment to Europe. So, I mean, certainly the meter is going to be running on those bills. Just keep in mind, the fiscal 22 defense appropriations hasn't been settled yet, and that's something that would hopefully be done by March 11th. So I think gosh knows what the world's going to look like by March 11th. So it's very easy to imagine something being tacked on to whatever omnibus spending bill Congress decides to pass. And then also, I would think that you might even have the possibility of something like direct transfers or a lend-lease to frontline countries along that NATO eastern flank, the Baltics, Poland, Romania. Certainly, there was a lot made and still a lot of sort of armchair quarterbacking about whether or not Ukrainian military forces received the right kind of equipment. It's difficult to train those forces on short notice to just simply hand over batteries of Patriots or THAADs or other advanced U.S. systems. But you might expect to see an up-arming of some of those NATO countries. And the quickest way to do that is with direct transfers and then backfill that with U.S. contracts to U.S. defense manufacturers.
You just mentioned a couple examples, but what are the types of equipment that we could see more demand for?
Look, I mean, honestly, this is across the board. I think one of the things the Biden administration, and it's no surprise, most experts and analysts in this town have been talking about the looming China challenge and preparing for to deter China in Asia. And that's sort of a much different category of or style of warfare. And this is, really good old-fashioned Cold War, tank warfare on the plains of Europe. And so, to a great degree, ground combat forces, shorter range systems, those kinds of things have been downplayed and largely been expected to be cut in the U.S. budget. And those would probably be the ones that would not only be increased, but be required by some of those frontline countries, as well as European countries that have been spending, sort of well below 2%, that were spending more along the lines of 4% of their GDP during the Cold War. And you have countries like Germany that have to weigh the economic, penalties of sanctions, as well as where they stand militarily as a role in the bloc.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.